There are many ways to make soap. Here's how we do it in Louisa, Virginia, as we start to make Christmas gifts for our friends and family.
July 24th, 2020.
Here's our setup. We use wooden molds. There's a bucket full of oils which we're going to make the soap out of. Over in the kitchen sink, we've got a bowl full of ice for our lye. Let's join in. I've got some lye, good for opening drains and good for making soap. And it's really important to get the right amount of lye in the soap to make, well, I'm going to say lye soap. For the amount of fat that I'm using, it turns out you need 11 ounces of lye. And my goodness, what am I doing? I should be putting a face mask on because it starts to smell a bit. Okay, between these two, we've got 11 ounces of lye. And gloves, of course. Taking it over to the water. Always turn the vent fan on at this point and open the door a little bit. As soon as I turn this vent fan on, it becomes pretty hard to hear what I'm saying as I make the soap, so I'll just talk your way through and do a little voiceover here. The lye is now being poured into the water with ice, and it's making a lot of fumes, and that's why I've got the vent fan on, and that's also why I'm wearing the face mask. However, that lye is making the water with the ice pretty hot. It's going to melt all that ice by the time I get everything in, because sodium hydroxide mixed with water does in fact make a chemical reaction, and it does in fact produce some heat. So we're doing it there. That's the 11 ounces of lye mixed with the water to make around 30 or so ounces of a very caustic liquid. Water mixed with sodium hydroxide, you don't want to mess with that kind of stuff. Stirring it up a little bit. It's cloudy. It's going to take a few minutes for the mixture to clarify, and at that point we'll be able to add the oil to it. So we're going to let it stand there for a bit as it clarifies, and while we're waiting for that to happen, I'm going to walk over to the counter with the bucket of oils. I'm going to show off these oils. We use palm oil, olive oil, shea butter, and a little bit of beeswax. That beeswax is real hard. It's hard to get into the thing. I've pre-mixed all of these. We're going to put these into the microwave oven so that it'll melt them down to a clear liquid of oil. There we go, going into the microwave oven. And this is going to take 3 or 4 minutes. I'm going to be pretty impatient to get it done, but there's nothing I can do to speed this thing up. Meanwhile, I'll point to the clarifying lye mixture, and it is, in fact, getting clear. We're close to being ready. I can turn off the exhaust now because the fumes are really just for the first few minutes when you're initially adding the lye to the water. And I feel okay to take off my face mask now because the face mask was really to keep me from choking in the smell of the lye fumes. Yuck. But it's all I put in making soap. I will keep the goggles on though. I've never had any of the lye to spatter, but you sure don't want this stuff to get in your eyes. This stuff is very strong. It will get weaker after we add the oils to it, of course. And still waiting for that oil to finish melting. It's coming. Yep. All melted. Okay, so what we're going to do is begin to mix the lye with the oil. And the way we do that is I use this little cup, and I'm going to pour some oil into the lye. If you pour the lye into the oil, you might get spattering. But this is a better way to do it. And as I do, I stir it up. Now, believe it or not, that oil is already starting to make soap. Because that's the first thing that it likes to do. I'll put just a little bit more in. So that's just enough oil mixed with the lye to make it safe for me to pick up this container and pour it all into the rest of the oil, stirring it as we go. And carefully, trying not to spill anything. If I don't get this little bit of initial oil mixed with the rest of the oil pretty quickly, it'll start to make soap itself too fast. So I'm stirring this together just to make sure that everything is well mixed. I'm not counting, but I'm stirring it about 50 times. And that's before I move it over anywhere. Okay, now the soap making has begun. I'm going to carry this bucket of oil and lye over to near where the molds are going to be. And I also need this little measuring thing. So now, stir, stir, stir about 50 more times. Now, I could be making soap just by continuing to stir this thing for about 20 or 25 minutes. And my hand would get very tired. But we found somebody on the web suggested, and it's been picked up as a really good idea, a speedy way to get the process moved right along is to get an electric starter. I'm going to stick this in the soap. Oh, that was not good. Another good reason for having to put some plastic on the table before doing this. So just a few seconds of that and the soap is already starting to thicken. Sorry about that little mess, which I'll clean up. A second swashing with the electric stick. This time I will stick it in the soap before I start it. Okay, that should be plenty. I don't want it to harden up in the bucket here. So now to even out the amount of soap that's going in the two molds, I'm using this. Oops. That's one for you. And one for you. Now the level's pretty low in the bucket, so I'm just going to pick up the bucket and pour the rest of it in, trying to more or less even it out. A little bit there, a little bit there, a little more there, a little more there. And the soap is now in the mold. And I'm going to try to wipe up some of that mess I made here initially. Keep a lot of paper towels on hand because you need paper towels. this stuff. And here's where things can go pretty fast. I can't use the electric swisher anymore because I tear up the paper lining that I've got in these soap molds. But I can feel this is already starting to harden. So I'm going to take when I add the flavoring oil to it, it's going to make the soap harden really fast. So as soon as I do this, I've got to keep stirring or else it won't be well mixed, because this is actually getting harder to stir already. And I haven't gone over to the other one yet. Because there's something about adding the flavoring extract that it really stimulates the hardening of this soap. Okay, if I spend any more time on that one, I'll mess up the other one. So here's the other one. And I'm going to quit right there. At that point, we've made soap. And I'm going to have to leave these molds on the table for about another 30-45 minutes so that they'll harden enough so that we can safely move them around without them starting to wiggle back and forth. And so the next thing, the most important thing in the process, is start cleaning up. And I don't think you need a video for that.